So yesterday was the 200th day of protest in the city of Elizabeth City in the county of Pasquotank County, North Carolina, over the police assassination of Andrew Brown Jr. that occurred 200 days ago on April 21st, 2021. Elizabeth City residents have continued to do daily demonstrations in and around downtown Elizabeth City. Yesterday, we chose to march around the Confederate War Memorial because, fun fact about that monument, it was voted to be removed in July of 2020. Yet, it is November of 2021, and it's still there. I don't know how that's possible, but I want to point out that the Pasquotank County Board of Commissioners, the ones that own that monument, are notorious for being right-wing psychopaths. We saw when Andrew Brown Jr. was murdered that they voted to give a raise to the sheriff's department. They gave them more money after Andrew Brown Jr. was murdered. That's weird. That's strange, right? And so they've been doing all these weird tactics in concert with the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department. They also just they really want to keep that monument there, and it's bizarre to me. But anyway, the government here in Pasquotank County and Elizabeth City is horrible. The elected leaders are trash. It's a situation where it's very reminiscent of, the 2020 election, where you've got Donald Trump, who's a raging psychopath, and then you've got Joe Biden, who is also pretty fucking garbage, but I mean, really, he's the best bet to beat the raging psychopath. And that's what we're dealing with in Elizabeth City and Pasquotank County. The politicians that aren't raging psychopaths are generally pretty useless and inept and incompetent. And then that is juxtaposed with the fact that the people on the other side are raging psychopaths. We've got a mayoral candidate here, Jeannie Young, who has been involved in actual rape cases, and she is on the city council right now. She's a raging psychopath, and she's running for mayor. Now, explain to me how you can be very much so involved in rape cases in concert with the Elizabeth City Police Department and then win a city council seat and then run for mayor. I don't know how that's possible, but in Elizabeth City, anything is possible. And that's the thing about this as well. And then you've got Mayor Betty Parker, who is pretty much nowhere to be found. She doesn't really do anything. The last notable thing that she did was basically spend $500,000 on bussing in riot police to beat the shit out of elderly people in her city. So it's a combination, or it's a juxtaposition of useless, incompetent versus raging psychopath who wants to murder you. And obviously I will choose the useless, incompetent person over the raging psychopath any day. But again, it leaves us really begging for more. Nothing has happened over the last 200 days. The only thing that people are pinning any hopes on is a federal lawsuit against the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department, specifically the 7 sheriff deputies involved with the murder. And that's really the only thing going on that has any hint or hope of possibly being a decent outcome for the case of Andrew Brown Jr. The government has failed to do anything for the people. The leaders have failed to do anything for the people. And people, for the most part, are just going back to business as usual. And again, it's been 200 days, and there are still people out here that are marching every single day, because there are still people in Elizabeth City that believe that it's not okay for a terrorist organization such as the Sheriff's Department to go around on the back of a pickup truck with assault weapons and shoot up a school zone, shooting their own police officers, shooting into random houses, all so that they can shoot someone in the back of the head as they try to drive away from the incoming assassination. That is not fair. There is no way you can stretch those facts into being something justified or fair unless you yourself are a raging psychopath. And that's really what's going on here, is that we see a city that has been basically, oppressed for forever. And there's an uprising going on that, is trying to be ignored and covered up. The national media doesn't give a shit. They left when the riot cops left because they thought, no one's throwing rocks, no one's setting buildings on fire. Why bother even cover this? Who cares? No one cares. And that's what happens when you do peaceful demonstrations. No one cares. When you burn something, everyone comes in here to tell you how bad you are. And, oh, you shouldn't do that. You're really bad. But then when people listen to that advice, mainstream media is gone. They don't give a shit. Local media, gone. They don't give a shit. Regional media, gone. They don't give a shit. No one cares about the situation here. And it's sad. But it's been 200 days. And so people are still going up. We're going until something happens. I mean, and that can, if it has to be 10 years, it has to be 10 years. But we're going until something happens. So there's your update. 200 days. That's a long time.